subject to Kremlin agreement. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 478 points, more at Town Hall.
Hear me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Most people in radio commercials talk really fast. But we made this one for RV owners. Progressive knows they like the slower pace of RV life, like this commercial. And they know Progressive will protect their RV at a fair price with discounts. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations. 5.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Wall Street ended lower after careening from a small gain to 10% below its record. The S&P 500 fell 0.8% after falling as much as 1.5%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.1%. The Nasdaq Composite slipped 0.2%. Gains for Tesla and other influential stocks muted the losses. President Trump said he would double his planned tariffs on steel and aluminum for Canada. It was a retaliation that prompted the provincial government of Ontario to back down on its planned surcharges on electricity sold to the U.S. The Dow was down 478 points to finish at 41,433. The Nasdaq lost 32 to 17,436. The S&P 500 dropped 42 points to 5572. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening, the low temp dipping down to 44. Tomorrow, every bit as gorgeous as today. We'll have plentiful sunshine to go with a high temperature, topping out at 80. We'll stay mild Thursday and Friday. More clouds than sunshine. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, everybody, welcome into Sports Talk Media Network here on this Tuesday night as we come to you from Nashville, Tennessee. We're here to cover South Carolina in the SEC tournament as long as they're here, as long as the Gamecocks are here. Some of you have you ever heard of Cinderella? There could be no better Cinderella story than a Gamecock run in the SEC tournament. Is it likely to happen? Probably not. But the one thing that's driving them is the fact that they beat Arkansas, embarrassed Arkansas at home just a couple of weeks ago. And they've played so many of the teams that they lost to very close games. So they have hope. They have hope of extending their season. And we shall see what happens with the Gamecocks and the Razorbacks tomorrow. We'll hear from Lamont Paris and we'll hear from Colin Murray Boyles. We talked to the two of them this afternoon after practice. The Gamecocks got in about an hour workout over at the Bridgestone Arena in beautiful downtown Nashville. Chris Bergen joining us from the Berge Palace. And we have the plumber, Josh Cohen, producing back at our studios. You know, Bergie, people always like to say that Disney World is the happiest place on earth, but I would argue that Nashville, Tennessee is the happiest place on earth because you come to Nashville for the most part for two reasons: music and booze. And what can make you happier than music and booze together?
Yeah, but the problem is it's country music, so that dampens the spirit quite a bit. So, but aside from that, Nashville is a lovely city, and I think a really, really good choice for the SEC tournament. I'm curious, though, where did the Gamecocks go to practice and actually practice after they left Bridgestone Arena for their little shoot-around that they had for an hour? Where did they actually go have their real practice so nobody could see them? Did they do it beforehand at some high school in Nashville? Did they go somewhere else after practice? Do we know?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of any additional workout. As far as now, are you being serious? Or are you being trying to be funny here?
I'm being very serious.
I'm not aware of any additional workout.
Okay.
They worked out for about an hour. Nothing
enough.
severe, just up and down, shooting around, shooting some free throws and all that kind of stuff. But not aware of any other workout, and nobody asked Lamont Paris about any additional workout. So interesting that you would bring that up. Is that something you've experienced over the years?
Yes, Cliff Ellis used to do that for Coastal when we go to Pensacola for the the Sun Belt men's basketball tournament. You only get about 45 minutes or so inside the Pensacola Base Center, so we would practice either somewhere afterwards or somewhere before, and then he would just take the team over there and let them get some shots up, and they'd be done. Of course, Coach was, as many coaches are, the ultimate in paranoia. He was afraid somebody would be watching what they were doing. So, and he's not alone in that department. So, this is a possibility. Now, my guess is at this time of year and as much work and load has been put on those guys, an hour's practice is more than enough in the building in which you're going to play. But it would not have surprised me had they gone somewhere else either afterwards or beforehand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are they going to do to surprise Arkansas and vice versa? The one thing is the injuries to Arkansas. What's their status? What's that situation? Because they had a couple of key guys out when they played South Carolina and Columbia. But, I mean, Arkansas played one of the worst games of anybody in the SEC all season in that game in Columbia. I mean, it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed for them. I mean, they couldn't throw it in the Broad River. They couldn't make a shot. You remember the extended dead period they went through shooting the basketball, and the Gamecocks built that big lead, and of course EMB had a huge game. So I think now what you can expect, some adjustments defensively for Arkansas on how they played defense. They didn't play very much defense, and the Gamecocks played terrific defense, maybe their best defensive game of the year against Arkansas. So, and we'll see what kind of adjustments come from all that tomorrow at 1 o'clock when these two teams tip off the SEC tournament here in Nashville. So we're going to hear from the Gamecocks. We got a little football to talk about tonight as well. More from Dabo Swinney, who met with the media after the Tigers practice on Friday night. We didn't get a chance to get much of the meat, much of the good stuff, much of the meat of that press session to you. So I want to give you a little bit more of that tonight. And also, we've had our interview with Brandon Cisse, marinating, waiting to go. So we're going to get to that tonight as well. And also we will, of course, talk NASCAR tonight here on Sports Talk. So we got a lot to get to. We'll update recruiting as well. Our phone numbers are 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. You can also drop us a text message on our text line. That number is 803-900-4847. Don't call that number. I see where some people have tried to call that number. That number doesn't ring, nor does it get answered. You can text that number.
Are we sure?
803. Well, as far as I know, nobody's answered it. 803-900-4847. We'll do a better job of getting the messages tonight because we didn't get too many last night. And if you're watching us on our X at SC Sports Now and you want to shoot us a message there or on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page, you can send us a message there as well. Sometimes we get some good stuff from there. Most times we do not. So let's talk about a few other things that are that's of interest to us. First of all, congratulations to Wofford, Chris. What a game last night in the Southern Conference Championship game in Asheville, a real shootout between the rivals Furman and Wofford, and the number 6 seed Wofford Terriers had just enough. They had just enough to hold off Furman to advance to the tournament for the first time in 6 years.
And the first time in 8 years that the Southern Conference champion is not the regular season champion, which I found astonishing. That shows you how dominant the number 1 seed has been over the last nearly decade in that league. But that was a terrific game, especially in the second half. If you like offense, and you knew Wofford and Furman would provide plenty of offense the way those two teams play, they combined for over 100 points in the second half. I mean, it was terrific theater. And, props to, and I give the Sun Belt a lot of grief about Pensacola as the slot for the Sun Belt Conference tournament because there are no schools in the state of Florida. The closest schools are about 2.5, 3 hours away in Troy and South Alabama. There's just not much of an environment. But props to the Southern Conference for the environment they've been able to create in Asheville. That is the perfect spot for that conference tournament. And it was slam-packed last night. It looked like it was a game at either Wofford or Furman, a regular season game as full as it was. I mean, just a great theater, great place to have that tournament, and a really, really good game. And, it was, I was happy for Wofford, disappointed for Furman. It's hard to pull for one over the other. But knowing Byron Rucker up at Wofford, who I've known for a long, long time, sent him a text after the game last night, said, congratulations. His response was, holy crap.
Yeah. Well, it was an exciting game all the way through. And, both teams, they had their shooting eye on last night, and that makes for an exciting game when you have that kind of offense going. So Furman had another really good year under Bob Ritchie. They ended up with, 25 wins?
Correct.
So they won't go to the NIT, of course, because the NIT has tightened things up, right? The NIT wants to take more of the losers from the major conferences and not take these teams from the mid-majors that had really good regular seasons but didn't win their tournament championships. They're getting away from that, aren't they?
Yes, that is correct. And I was sweating that out for High Point in the Big South because they were a team that had won like 29 games when they won the championship of the Big South. Had they not won it in years past, they would have been the automatic bid into the NIT as the regular season champion, which I never understood why the NIT wanted to go away from that, because they had such a great field. So instead, we're going to take a 6-10 team, or 8-10 team, or a 6-12 team from the SEC, because that's what everybody wants to see, more of that team, as opposed to a team like Furman that's 25-9, or a High Point team that won almost 30 games this year. We don't want to see them. We'd much prefer seeing, Mississippi State in the NIT.
Yeah. Yeah. You think Arkansas makes, if Arkansas beats the Gamecocks tomorrow, or even if they don't, they are 8-10 in the league. They're 19-12 overall. You think they make it to the big dance?
I think they win tomorrow, they're probably in, because then they can claim, well, heck, we won 20 games overall in the best league in America. And, we deserve to be in there. The push will be to get them in. There's no question.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big game for Arkansas tomorrow. I really do, because clearly South Carolina's only got one pathway, and that's to play all the way through Sunday and win it. But Arkansas, I think they've got to win tomorrow, and may need to beat Ole Miss on Thursday. But they certainly can't lose tomorrow. They lose to South Carolina twice. There's no good reason you can give to anybody that Arkansas belongs in the NCAA tournament.
Well, here's the other interesting little nugget. So you've got 4 teams in the SEC at 8-10 in league play. Of those 4 teams, 3 have 20 overall wins. Arkansas has 19. Mississippi State, Georgia, and Vanderbilt, they each have 20. If all of them win their games, I think they're all playing tomorrow, right? I think they're all playing tomorrow. If they all win, you take those. Do those 4 get in? Which would mean, along with the others who are in, that above Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Kentucky, Missouri, and Ole Miss are in. That's 8. You add those 4. If they were all to win, you add those 4. That's 12 of the 16 teams. You figure Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, and South Carolina don't get in unless they win the tournament.
Correct.
And if they win the tournament, that might mean 13 teams from the SEC get in. So, I mean, come on. 12 of your 16 teams get in. And the funny thing is your two newcomers, Texas and Oklahoma, does not look like – I mean, they can't take – Oklahoma's got 19 wins. They were 6-12 in the league. You cannot take a team that went 6-12 in conference play. I don't care what league they're playing in.
No, and you can trumpet and tell me how great the SEC was this year, and it was. There's no question it was the best league in the country far and away. But that being said, you can't use that on one argument and then come back on the other side and say, the only reason we went 6-12 is because we played in the best league in the country. No, there should be, as I always say, there should be value in wins. You can't just schedule great teams. You got to go beat them. And so, Oklahoma should be in the same boat with LSU and Texas and South Carolina and probably even Vanderbilt, maybe even and Georgia too. Georgia and Vanderbilt certainly need to get to Friday, if not further, and those other teams need to get all the way to Sunday and win it.
Meantime, the Clemson Tigers are looking pretty good. They've got a break until Thursday. Matt Smith will be in Charlotte to cover the Tigers once they hit the court against most likely SMU, considering what happens in the 2 days before the Tigers have to play. But if it's SMU, they've already beaten them, then most likely they play Louisville. That'll be the tough one for the Tigers. By the way, they're now a 4 seed, the Tigers are, by Joe Lenardi.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a dentist. I want to be an engineer.
Making dreams come true starts with making a plan. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to invest in a child's future education so they can chase any dream. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Are credit card rates weighing you down? Founders Federal Credit Union is here to help, offering rates below the national average. Our Essential MasterCard is as low as 13.25% APR, and our rewards cards start at just 15.25% APR. Pay that with zero annual fees and zero balance transfer fees. Apply today and keep more of your money in your pocket. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc to learn more or apply for a new credit card today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
The difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosseller Brown. Did you know Lawyer Lisa offers a prevention plan add-on to our services? If you already have a trust or just need some updates, ask about getting your ducks in a row and getting all of your wishes set out before it's needed. Visit lawyerlisa.com for more information.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network on a Tuesday night. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. For you to join us tonight, feel free to give us a shout. Anything you want to bring up about the upcoming SEC, ACC tournaments, anything in the past, little college football talk. We'll get into that with Dabo Sweeney, Brandon Cisse. Today, up in a couple of things. Before I talk about the NIL stuff, I want to bring this up because this is pretty important stuff here in our state. And so today there was a story from Cole Bryson, who's a sports talk show host in Spartanburg, friend of ours. And he had a copy of a memo that was sent out to coaches and ADs this week in high school about a bill that was filed on March the 6th in the State House proposing to dissolve the South Carolina High School League and create a new state athletics association. Now, this is something that when we had Jimmy Noonan on with us at the coaches clinic, we were talking about some things involving, in fact, we were talking about more of state government stepping in and putting up the money to have the state championship football games at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia. And we also talked about, I think, the possibility of state government maybe doing something else with high school sports. So now this has come out. So a couple of the key provisions here: abolition of the high school league. The bill seeks to dissolve the high school league and replace it with a newly created state athletics association. State control of governance. The governance of the new athletics association would be controlled by a committee appointed by the state legislature. This committee would replace the existing self-governing structure where member schools have a say in decision-making. Ooh. Let me repeat that. This committee would replace the existing self-governing structure where member schools have a say in decision-making. And thirdly, loss of local control. Now, this might be written by, this obviously is not how the bill is written, but these are some of the provisions. Loss of local control. Member schools would lose their ability to self-govern as part of the association, with oversight and decision-making now in the hands of the appointed committee. Okay. And then Jerome Singleton, who is the commissioner of the high school league, he put out a statement where he said, strongly encourage all member schools to take immediate action to protect the rights and interests of our students, our athletes, coaches, and school communities. We ask that you contact your respective legislators to express your opposition to this bill. And then he goes into some specifics about what you should do. So here we go. What do you think? I wonder who is, it doesn't say who's proposing this. I'm wondering if,
there are several.
I don't know, maybe, Jackie Hayes, maybe. I'm just throwing Jackie's name out there. He's a former football coach. I don't know if it's him or not. I'm just throwing his name out there. What do you think about all this?
Well, I think it's an idiotic idea to begin with, and I'm not surprised when you get state or federal legislatures involved in sports. They never get anything right. They just jump in where they're not needed. But I looked through the bill itself, and there must have been 15 or 20 state representatives. And my initial thought was, not Jackie Hayes, but my initial thought was there's got to be somebody from Somerville who's upset about the Ashley Ridge situation during the girls' basketball playoffs. Someone from Ashley Ridge may be on that list. I didn't read through it, but the first two names I saw were representatives from here in Florence and one in the upstate in Pickens County. So this is across the board in the state. And for whatever reason, I don't know how they got this bee in their bonnet, but the state legislature and the state house believes it needs to get involved with something that's already being run by the state and already being governed by the high schools. Mm-hmm. And I just can't understand the thinking here that they could do it any better than what the South Carolina High School League and the high schools themselves are doing. That's what we have to always remind ourselves. The high schools are the ones who set the rules and try and obey the rules. And then if they don't, they're the ones, for the most part, who penalize themselves. They govern themselves. They don't need the state government to step in here. I realize they're probably thinking, well, this is state money going to athletics, so we need to have control of this. But what's broken with the high school league? That'd be my first question to any of these idiots who decided this was a good idea. What's broken with the high school league?
Yeah, that's a good question. And my answer would be I can't think of anything that's broken with the high school league. The high school league itself, as a governing body, does an excellent job. People confuse the operation of the high school league with the investigative and penalty arm of the high school league, which is the executive committee and then the appellates committee. That is separate as far as the day-to-day operations of handling high school sports in South Carolina. From that standpoint, there is really nothing to complain about. You already have, if I'm not mistaken, is not the appellates committee made up of something from the state legislature? Is that not something that was approved back when they created this appellates committee, that it was a state legislature? Here's what the state legislature needs to do. All I want them to do is put up the money for the high school football championships and the high school basketball championships to be played in Columbia. That's all you need to do. Go vote on that. Get the money. You got the money. You got the money. Put up the money for the football championships and the basketball championships, and for that matter, put the baseball championships in Columbia as well. You should have, those kids should have the opportunity to play in the big college stadiums, and Columbia is the most central location. I know Clemson fans said, what about up there? And, you know, you can maybe every once in a while go up there, but again, that's a burden travel-wise. Columbia is centrally located. That's how it was designed. It was designed to be centrally located. That's why they put the Capitol there in the middle of the state. So that's what I want them to do. Otherwise, you're right. I don't see any reason for the state legislature to get involved, especially you're going to tell me that they're going to tell the schools that you don't have a say-so in the day-to-day operations of athletics around your school and around your district. I cannot believe that would go over at all with anybody.
Well, and it's a ridiculous notion. It is, again, politicians trying to get into a place they have no business being. It's the same situation we're seeing right now with NIL and the transfer portal and everything. The NCAA just throwing its hands up in the air and saying the federal government needs to bail us out. These are people both at the federal level and the state level I wouldn't trust with a potato peeler. And you're going to tell me that they're going to be able to handle athletics any better than an organization that is centrally located to handle all of this with the help of the high schools in which they govern. It boggles the mind sometimes. It's almost as stupid an idea as the one that the Georgia politicians wanted to do to eliminate anybody who's getting name, image, and likeness pay-for-play money. They don't have to pay state income tax because that's not fair, because the football players who go to play for the University of Florida, our biggest rival, they don't have to pay state income tax in the state of Florida. So let's make sure we can compete with them in Georgia, because that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
stop it.
You're exactly
Go
right.
fix the roads and handle the military. We'll take care of everything else. That's all you need to do.
Well, I will say the roads in Florida are pretty good, especially around Orlando, because I drove on a bunch of those. Oh, by the way, speaking of roads, my gosh, coming up I-40 going east between North Carolina and Tennessee as you cross the border, it's gone. I-40
Sad.
east, that little 5 or 6 mile section got washed out in the big storm. It's gone. Back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening, the low temp dipping down to 44. Tomorrow, every bit as gorgeous as today. We'll have plentiful sunshine to go with a high temperature, topping out at 80. We'll stay mild Thursday and Friday. More clouds than sunshine. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
The Point. The Point.
This is an SRN News special report. Republicans have passed their continuing resolution to keep the government funded through the end of the fiscal year. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The House passed legislation Tuesday to avert a partial government shutdown and fund federal agencies through September, providing critical momentum as the measure now moves to the Senate, where bipartisan support will be needed to get it over the finish line. Republicans needed overwhelming support from their members to pass the funding measure, and they got it in the 217 to 213 House vote. In the Senate, they'll need support from at least 8 Democrats to get the bill to President Trump's desk. Vice President J.D. Vance is already courting support in the Senate to get the legislation passed. This has been an SRN News special report. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
When your pipes panic, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning steps right in, fast and friendly. Josh and his team aren't just fixing leaks, they're restoring your peace of mind. This is when you're at your most vulnerable. You got a problem, you need a solution. They're not coming out to upsell you or talk you into something new this or new that. You'll appreciate their process. They'll tell you what needs to get done and what it'll cost before they ever even bring in their tools to start the work. They're locally owned, which unfortunately is no longer the norm in the Midlands. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning will treat every home like their own. They've done work for me, for my brother, countless numbers of Point listeners. Dial 799-2222 or visit franklinplumbing.sc.com and you tell them Kev from the Point sent you. You will experience plumbing that's more than just a fix. It's a solution from people who care about their work and stand by it. When you need them, please don't panic. Just call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, 799-2222.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Imagine a home where every corner speaks volumes of care, precision, and impeccable style. At Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovations, we transform spaces with a splash of color and an expert touch. With fully licensed, bonded, and insured craftsmanship, we're not just doing a job, we're upholding a reputation. Whether it's painting, pressure washing, or wood repairs, we handle everything from your honey-do list to major projects. Call us today at 922-5615 and elevate your living space with Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovations.
Sports talk every weeknight from 6 to 8, feeling just right. Phil, Chris, and Josh, they're in the zone. Across South Carolina, they're well known. Sports talk, bringing the heat. Talking sports, can't be beat. Tune in.
Welcome back in, everybody. Sports Talk on a Tuesday night from here in Nashville, Tennessee for the SEC basketball tournament, which begins tomorrow. South Carolina, Arkansas, going to tip it off. First game of the day be at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be covering that, of course, so make sure you give us a follow. If you haven't already, follow us on our X at SC Sports Now. SC Sports Now, of course, on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on our Facebook page at Sports Talk Media Network. Update a couple of things. Baseball, Liberty with a 1-0 lead. What did Coach Toman tell us last night? Liberty leading Clemson 1-0. Yes. Bottom of the second, 1-0. A home run in the top of the second for Liberty has given Liberty a 1-0 lead in this one as they play the bottom of the second. Clemson does have a runner on third, and 2 men are out. And pitching today for Clemson, Bennett started, went 1 2/3 innings, and now Bailey is pitching for the Tigers. So a quick hook today. Maybe that was predetermined. I don't know. 1-0 there. Then we've got Wake Forest and Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina coming off that nice weekend series win at East Carolina. They're hosting Wake Forest. They are trailing in the bottom of the first 2-1. They do have runners on first and second, and 2 are out. We'll update other baseball later. At the ACC tournament, it's Notre Dame defeating Pitt 55-54. And Virginia Tech, with about 8 seconds to play, Virginia Tech is leading Cal 60-59. So at least they've got exciting games for the tens of tens who are there. Not many people in the stands, huh?
No, I was just telling you guys during the break, the three of us could drive to Charlotte right now and get a seat right behind the scorer's table at midcourt if we wanted. That won't be the case clearly later in the week when Duke and North Carolina and those guys show up, but still.
No.
It's such a far
cry.
The
quarterfinal
Phil.
Thursday should be packed.
Yeah, and it's such a far cry from what the ACC tournament used to be. Now, I'm dating myself here, but I remember, growing up in the state of North Carolina in the 80s, and you could not get a seat in Greensboro if you knew the governor. I mean, the tickets were so important. It was almost like, you hear these stories about people willing Masters tickets to other people so they never lose them. I'm not so sure folks didn't used to do that with ACC basketball tournament tickets. Now, shoot, you can walk up to the door and walk right in. It's a shame.
The 8-team original ACC, come on. Those tickets were as hard to come by as Masters tickets, if not harder. And I've told this story before. Going to Greensboro in the 80s and 90s when it was an 8-team league before the expansion started, and they started watering everything down and they lost their identity. I mean, the first game of the day, that's when it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And maybe it was still Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever. I mean, first game of the day was high noon, and you had 4 games that day. All 8 teams played, and in Greensboro, 16,000 people. Everybody was in their seat for the opening tip, and that was number 1 versus number 8. And most times it was a blowout, didn't matter. The thing was to be there. And then, if your team won, the thing was to be there to root against the next team because that's who you'd be playing in the next round. And, of course, if you were a North Carolina fan, you were there to root against Duke. And if you're a Duke fan, you were there to root against North Carolina. And if you're a State fan or a Wake fan, you were there to root against both of those. So it was great. And obviously they've killed it. They've absolutely killed it from the standpoint of these early rounds. Yeah, it'll be the same thing here tomorrow. Don't expect there to be many people in the stands when South Carolina and Arkansas. You'll be able to hear the sneakers squeaking and the coaches yelling signals out to the players. One more thing I wanted to touch on, then we'll get to the phone calls. 888-898-2525. You hinted at the U.S. Congress today, and they had another hearing today related to NIL and the NCAA trying to get antitrust protections from Congress. And it certainly looks like that's not going to happen. It certainly sounds like the people that are talking about it on the committee are not interested in giving the NCAA protection through antitrust legislation. And, I mean, they pointed out that the NCAA really created their own deathbed here by the way they handled things with the players financially over all these years. So they're continuing to look into it. They may come up with a guardrail related to how NIL is handled. I'm not sure they'll put a cap in place. I mean, they may come up with some legislation. They may put some legislation in place to help streamline and direct how the NIL process is handled. Yeah, I was thinking about this today on my drive up because I had a nice long drive. And I don't understand why we're at this point in that when you think about all the athletes in a college program, I mean, a very small percentage will make money, will make big money out of any major athletic program when you think about it. The whole idea of when the courts ruled that players could go make money off their name, image, and likeness, my thought was, okay, let's say I'm a player at a major program. Now I've got this freedom. Okay, so now I'm free to use my name, image, and likeness. This is what the courts have ruled. I can go and I can make money off social media. Whatever I make is mine. I can go and contact businesses, and whatever I make from them, that's mine. I can do this without penalty, without threat of suspension by the NCAA. I am free to do that. To my understanding, that is what was intended when the courts gave the go-ahead for this and put the power in the hands of the players. So few players have that sort of marketing attraction, who are going to draw the big money. So I don't understand why, when you think about the way things were before, and I saw one of the members of the committee pointed this out. He cited things that college athletes had been getting under the old ways, under the NCAA. Full scholarship, room and board, food, medicine, travel, all the things they got as major athletes in big-time programs. Mm-hmm. They were well taken care of without having to come out of pocket. And he's like, y'all, it seems to me like they had a pretty good thing going. So my argument is they were being paid by virtue of their scholarships. It seems to me that the value, the marketing value of the majority of the athletes is not some great six-figure or even, something that's a five-figure even. Their value is a scholarship, which, of course, is a very valuable thing. In some schools, it's worth several $100,000, depending on where you happen to go. So that's your value. Your value is getting a scholarship and everything that comes with that. So my point is, they had a good system to give most of the players what their value from a marketing standpoint happens to be. But now you've got, because of the market pressures that come to bear when you've got schools recruiting these players and going one after another and competing for the same relatively small group, it's going to push their value up. It's going to send their dollar value up. And for many of them, it's not realistic. I mean, they're going to get the money, but it's not. They're going to be failures on the field and on the court. And this money, they're going to be overvalued because of the pressures that come with the competition to get the talent. And now, because it's a bidding war for some of these players, it drives the price up. So what I'm trying to say is, for many of them, I think for the majority of them, their value was what was in the scholarship, not some 6 or 7 figure or 5 or 6 figure payout that they're getting now. We saw the story the other day about the high school basketball player, the women's player, who is demanding, according to reports, $1.5 million in NIL money. And I mean, is she really worth that? Considering that, like, every women's basketball program in the country loses money, how can you continue to fork out those kind of dollars to a program that is in the red? So, I mean, I know they're not going to change anything now. It's too far down the road. I'm just saying, I think they had it fine the way it was. Now, fine the way it was, and then when NIL happened, it created a whole nother level of greed out there, and people saw an opportunity to cash in on this as well. And then you got all these people starting to get involved, collectives, agents, NIL experts, lawyers. They also had a chance to make some easy money off the backs of these players. And they, too, are pushing the ante, and they, too, are pushing the prices up. When really, again, I think for the majority of the athletes in any particular program, it's only a very small number that are worth, if you're going to put a dollar figure on them, are worth the major dollars. So I think what I'm saying is we should go back to the scholarship, and then the player, he or her, they're responsible for their NIL. And it shouldn't be the responsibility of the school or for the fans to fund it, but I know that it became a recruiting tool, and that is what has driven this whole thing to create what's going to be, it is where it is now, and it's only going to grow as far as the amount of money that's going to be produced to sign players. It's only going to keep going higher and higher. It's just like in the legacy pro leagues. Who would have ever thought J.C. Horn would get $100 million to play in the NFL? J.C. Horn. So now that bar has been set, and so the next great cornerback is going to get $120 million, and so. Well, it's going to be the same thing here on the college level. There's no cap, and great player here is going to get $5 million, $6 million. Next guy is going to get $7 or $8 million. But you see where I'm going with all this? So I'm just trying to I'm trying to bring the old way of thinking back into it, and suggesting that we've abused what was approved by the courts. We've abused this NIL system. I don't think this is what they had in mind.
No.
When they approved it.
No, we were told that the schools were not going to get involved at all. We should have all known that was going to be a lie to us right in our faces, but we were told that the student athletes, the athletes were going to go out and do whatever they had to do to earn money. This was going to be their opportunity. They were finally going to get a chance to go out and get a job, market themselves, the whole 9 yards. That lasted a grand total of 12 seconds, I believe, before they realized, heck, I'm not going to go. That's hard work. You mean I have to go out and try and do like my dad does and my mother does, go out and make a living? Oh, no. Let's push it so the schools just pay us to play. And that's what it's devolved into. And, listening to you, Phil, and it's funny, you bring up a lot of different things the way it used to be, and it's impossible to put the toothpaste back in the tube. But one thing I saw from the legislative meetings today on NIL up at Congress is, I'm not sure I'm pretty sure it was a coach or an athletics director was talking about the Olympic sports and how it's going to be almost impossible to sustain Olympic sports funding, whatever the case may be, because of the amount of money that you're going to have to pump into, say, football with, and as we've talked about before, where's South Carolina? What are the Gamecocks going to do with women's basketball? And that brings up that point about the young lady in Texas who believes she's worth $1.5 million. Where did she come up with that number? Who set that bar for her? I mean, if she's worth $1.5 million, what was somebody like Paige Beckers coming out of high school worth? What is Juju Watkins worth? What was Aaliyah Boston worth? I mean, it's insane. And you talk about J.C. Horn, he's set the bar. But the one difference between the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA, Phil, they all collectively bargain all this stuff to begin with, and secondly, they're all competing on the same level. So is the J.C. Horn cornerback at South Carolina, should he get more money than the cornerback at the Big 12 because he's playing in the SEC and he believes he's playing against greater competition, so his value is worth more because it's more difficult for us to win games, so you got to pay me more. See, J.C. Horn's playing on a rotten team, there's no question about it, but they have the same availability and opportunity to be just as good as Kansas City if they get better ownership in Charlotte and a lot of different things aside from that. But the NFL, everything's supposed to be on an even plane. College athletics is not even close to being on an even plane.
And they don't want it to be. The strong want to stay strong, and they want to keep you down. They want to keep you down. But you know what? There's a change coming because other schools are taking advantage of this and spending money. Keep an eye on UNLV. They've already made progress. Keep an eye on a program called Sacramento State. Sacramento State. I noticed where they've got some major players coming in for, I think they are relatively new Division I program, but they apparently have got some major funding out there, and apparently they're waving those dollar bills in front of some big-time players who are going out there to visit. Now, whether they get them or not is another story, but if this free-for-all in spending continues, you're going to see some outliers, eventually grab some of the top talent, who they think are some of the top talent, and become become powers, at least for a little while, like some of the established teams have been. Okay, we got to go to the break. I went much longer on that than I had planned to, but I wanted to share what I was thinking after reading about what was going on in Congress today and up on Capitol Hill, and kind of sparked some thoughts in my head. We'll come back and get to those phone calls. Phone number 888-898-2525. Clemson now 4-1 on Liberty in the middle of the third. Gaffney homered for 2, and Shufo homered for 2. And we'll be back after the break.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Hey, George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports. Let me tell you about something new we have going on. So now we can build your own golf studio in the comfort of your own home. That's right. We can come right into the Frog, to the room over the garage, to a dedicated space, and put your simulator in where you can play Pebble Beach, Harbor Town, and anywhere in between. True Golf is our partner, and we have some cool technology. TsunamiBarSports.com. Go check it out. Again, that's TsunamiBarSports.com. And let us put your favorite golf course in the room over the garage.
All right, let's get to the phone calls. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. Hank in Columbia. Good man to have on to talk about the high school league. Welcome in. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine, Corn. Yeah, I don't think that bill's going to have a chance of passing. And if it would have had a chance, they could not handle just all the stuff that goes in. People just don't understand how hard it is to run that league. I mean, it's hard on the AD at a physical school, much less anything else. Just getting scheduling done with arbiters and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I have two things, Corn. One, from last night, Vic Schaefer needs to stop with all that stuff about the Greenville and all that, because just like the Texas football team, if you thought they were going to go in there and say, hey, we playing against Georgia, it's a home crowd in this Atlanta Dome, we need to get this game moved. The league is going to say, where are you going to get the money to replace it? And if you remember, the first time that South Carolina beat Schaefer in Jacksonville, Nashville, and in San Antonio that he even mentioned. They beat them in San Antonio in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. Twice. They beat them in Dallas in his first championship, but they beat them in the Final Four back in 2021, I believe. That's taught me a river about that. But one thing you said about the NIL, Corn, the one thing you didn't mention that was like it was before, you mentioned about the players and the fans and all the big teams and all this. But remember, that whole thing came out because of greed. And it was greed from the schools and the NCAA offices.
But now greed, number of different sources is driving it now.
Oh, yeah, but they started it all because when they said a kid couldn't have chips without nacho sauce on it and all that, yet you had 16, 18
that was just
people.
stupid.
Yeah, they had 18 people in that building making over $1 million. And then when coaches went from making $1 million or $2 million a year, with the assistants making about $175,000 to $200,000, the coaches making $10 and $11 million a year.
Well, listen. Here's the other thing I wanted to say.
That's what spurned it all.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I wanted to say, and I don't think you can disagree with this. Now you're going to have, now that we've turned college sports into employment, without calling it employment, but we have, as a way of making a living. How many families now who are maybe low income, lower middle income, but have athletic kids, boys and girls, are going to start pushing the crap out of them to become better? No, I'm serious. To become breadwinners, to go to college.
I'm listening to you, Corn. Yeah, but I'm listening to you, Corn. But Corn, that's been going on.
Come on, man.
For a long time.
No.
Have you ever gone? You gone to the AAU? You going to the AAU contest where the fans are out there, and these kids have been paying $120 an hour for trainers? Because a lot of low-income families, I can just tell you from what I know of, a lot of low-income families, when that kid was going through school, when they weren't getting any money in college, everything was sold on getting them to the NFL so they can help their family.
Yeah, but there's one thing, and we got to go. Thank you. It's one thing to push your kids to get a scholarship, to go get an education, to go get a job. It's another thing, Bergie, to push them so that college will be their job and they can make their fortune there.
There's no question. There's no doubt about that.
I got to hit the top. Be back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The House passed legislation Tuesday to avert a partial government shutdown and fund federal agencies through September, providing critical momentum as the measure now moves to the Senate, where bipartisan support will be needed to get it over the finish line. Republicans needed overwhelming support from their members to pass the funding measure, and they got it in the 217 to 213 House vote. In the Senate, they'll need support from at least 8 Democrats to get the bill to President Trump's desk. Vice President J.D. Vance is already courting support in the Senate to get the legislation passed. Johnson's strategy had the backing of President Trump, who called on Republicans to remain united. Ukraine has said it is ready to accept an immediate 30-day ceasefire with Russia proposed by the U.S. after a day of U.S.-Ukraine talks in Saudi Arabia. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he would present the offer to Russia and that the ball is in their court. President Trump says he hopes Vladimir Putin agrees to the ceasefire with Ukraine.
I'll talk to Vladimir Putin, yeah. I want to get, look, that's the other, it takes two to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree, and I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, negotiating land positions, etc.
So you'll talk to him this week about the deal?
So, yeah.
Federal investigators looking for the cause of the January collision between a passenger jet and an Army helicopter near Washington, D.C. that killed 67 people are warning that it shouldn't use A military helicopter collided with the American Airlines jet as it was approaching Ronald Reagan National Airport.
Hey, it's big! Rob Schmidt recently beat CNN in key ratings, as millions are tuning into Newsmax. Every night, Rob Schmidt is on Newsmax, revealing the truth about Elon Musk's Doge. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern and find out why Rob is the hottest person in cable news. Even President Trump is watching, and he says Newsmax is terrific. Reuters Institute reports that Newsmax is now one of the top news brands in America. Find out why. Just check out Newsmax on your cable system. Get Rob Schmidt with Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and much more. Download the free Newsmax app on your smartphone or home TV to start watching. It takes just seconds. With Newsmax Plus, you can watch our great shows anytime. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com and start your free trial. That's NewsmaxPlus.com. Make the switch to Newsmax today.
5. Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Wall Street ended lower after careening.
January collision between a passenger jet and an Army helicopter near Washington, D.C. that killed 67 people are recommending a ban on some helicopter flights. A military helicopter collided with the American Airlines jet as it was approaching Ronald Reagan National Airport over the Potomac River on January 29th. Among the victims were 28 members of the figure skating community. National Transportation Safety Board Chairwoman Jennifer Homendy said that under the current practice, helicopters and planes can be as close as 75 feet apart from each other during landing. The polls have opened in Greenland for early parliamentary elections Tuesday as President Trump seeks control of the strategic Arctic island. The self-governing region of Denmark is home to 56,000 people. News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening, the low temp dipping down to 44. Tomorrow, every bit as gorgeous as today. We'll have plentiful sunshine to go with a high temperature, topping out at 80. We'll stay mild Thursday and Friday. More clouds than sunshine. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, back we are at Sports Talk Media Network. Let me update a couple of quick important things, and we'll get back to phone calls, and we'll hear from Lamont Paris as we're here in Nashville for SEC Tournament, ACC Tournament. You got a good one going on, Chris. You've been watching that game that's now in double overtime?
Yeah, between California and Virginia Tech, it is 69-67 Cal. Early moments of the second overtime. What I'm so hoping will happen is that Cal finds a way to win this game, because that will set up the matchup of two longtime Atlantic Coast Conference rivals, and it's exactly what the ACC deserves, having Cal and Stanford playing in the second round of the Atlantic Coast Conference men's basketball tournament, with the winner of that game advancing to the quarters to face Louisville. It'd be exactly what the ACC deserves.
Perfect. All five Clemson golfers finished in the top 15 to lead Clemson to a 5-shot win at the Palmetto Cleveland Golf Intercollegiate. Event was shortened to 36 holes because of the bad weather. On Monday, Clemson won the event with a score of 3 over, 563 after shooting a 6-under 274. Today, that was the best team round of the tournament. So Jordan Bird picks up a win with the Tigers, and that's a very prestigious win to win the Palmetto Intercollegiate. Also, the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame announced today their class of 2024 and other honorees. Those going into the hall: Troy Brown out of Blackville Hilda, Jim Carlin, Buddy Pugh, Deuce Staley, and Jim Stuckey. I think we all know who those folks are without further explanation. Yeah, the Humanitarian of the Year goes to Sabrina Greenlee, and she is an advocate and community leader working with survivors of domestic violence through her foundation. The Blanchard Rogers Trophy winner, of course, announced previously was Kyle Kennard of South Carolina. Okay, baseball update, 5-1, Clemson over Liberty. Wake Forest 5-4 over Coastal Carolina. That's after 2. The Clemson game's in the bottom of the 3rd. College of Charleston now leading Wofford 8-6, top of the 7th, down in Charleston. Okay, we appreciate your patience on the phone lines, and we go next. We go next to Keith in Camden. Okay, Keith, good to have you tonight. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil, Chris, hope y'all doing well. Phil, it is, you're old school. I am, and it's a music to my ears to hear you speak about going back to the good old days. What's so unfortunate about this? And, I love the university. I love the sports, and I chose a few years back to step aside from donations and seats after 38 years. But, the problem is here we are taking in 115 plus million a year. And the problem is the adults in the room that should be adults are the children. And that's what we got running the insane asylum. And here we are today where we are. And it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
It is.
What I was, trying to suggest too, I would love for Congress, if it's going to do anything, I mean, if you want to follow my idea, Congress should say, look, the idea that the Supreme Court and other courts have ruled on is that the athletes have a right on their own to go make money while they're in college playing a sport. Now, what they should forbid is all these outside influences. And they should also forbid the recruiting process from becoming the financial driving engine behind this, because it is. That's what is driving the engine, and sending these for select few, sending the money sky high. But, of course, the scholarships are still in place. They're still getting those. I wish somebody would acknowledge that getting a college scholarship, a 4-year college scholarship, having your education and everything else paid for, and you walking out the door with your diploma and not owing a penny and being able to go get a job because you're not going to be a pro athlete is a good thing and was a worthy thing. And, the NCAA did a good thing by having that particular process in place. Yes, I know they did a bunch of stupid things as well, and they're paying the price for that now. We see that. We can eliminate all that. But just go back. Hey, you recruit for the scholarship, and then when you are signed and you come to school, then you, the athlete, you can go about the business of generating your NIL dollars. Now, the school can help out. School can help out by, maybe assisting with saving that money, investing that money, helping them with tax questions. But, I mean, this whole idea of creating another arm within these athletic departments for the sole purpose of raising money to pay the athletes, that's not what the law and the rulings were about, if you ask me.
Phil, let me ask you one more thing. I don't think the setup was intended for that, but the desire to win at all costs is what's taken over, and it's just unfortunate.
No question.
I mean, I want to win as much as anybody, but to see this, I never hear anybody talking about, I'm thankful I got a 4-year college degree with room and board, housing, and food. You don't hear that no more.
No, you don't. It's overlooked. First of all, it's a given. It's assumed it's a given. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's all a given now. That's part of the process, Chris. That's all a given. You're going to get your room and board and your travel and your medical and all that kind of stuff taken care of.
Clothes.
closed. Yeah, I mean, that's all taken care of. But I think where we're going to reach a breaking point here is just this cutthroat competition for the very best players, and they will continue to drive the price on up. I mean, because right now there's no limits in place. There's no caps in place, and you're also going to have a problem within athletic departments. You're going to have a problem within athletic departments about divvying that money up.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me today, I'm not going to say this was a direct quote, somebody told me today up at Clemson, Dabo Swinney let it be known that football at Clemson brings in 87% of the revenue. So he expects to get 87% of that money at a minimum. And I've already mentioned that, I've heard also that like women's basketball will get zero. And
that's fine if you don't want to compete in women's basketball, then that's fine.
Yeah, men's basketball will get some. Obviously, their football, and Clemson got another commitment today too. We haven't even had a chance to mention that safety out of Ohio. We'll talk about that coming up. And obviously, they're spending their money wisely because they're having a heck of a run in recruiting coming off this past weekend. And you don't think that they laid out deals for these players?
Oh, absolutely.
NIL deals. And so, and these guys are forgoing. I mean, they're happy with whatever they, Clemson right now has got a great combination going. You've heard me say this before. I'll say it again. When it comes to recruiting at Clemson, with the players they recruit, the players that appeal to them and the players that appeal to Clemson, it's a two-way combination. And at Clemson, it's very strong, of course, the family approach with Dabo Swinney and the coaching staff. They do an excellent job. The Christian atmosphere that they present to the players who come in there, who many of them are, very strong religious Christian people, and they love the Christian atmosphere that they feel inside the building, led by Dabo Swinney, and now the money. So, I mean, it's a great combination to put together to win a lot of recruiting battles. But other schools will have the same thing as well.
Sure. But I think, and you brought up an excellent point, that it's something to be not only considered, but I think be afraid of if you're a fan of an entire athletic department, is where is the university going to place all its money? And if men's basketball is struggling for a little while, are we going to be able to pull some money away from football to help men's basketball out? What kind of argument are you going to have between the two head coaches there? Are we going to totally ignore, Olympic sports? Pretty much, how is baseball going to survive moving forward? And that's an interesting question in our state that loves college baseball. But if we get to a point where football is going to absorb 80-90% of the money that comes into a school, there's not a whole lot left for college baseball. You're going to have individual donors like Keith, who just said, after 38 years, I've had enough. Mm-hmm. You're going to have guys like that who will be willing to give a lot of money to baseball, and that, I fear, what is a college athletic department going to look like 10 years from now? Is it going to be a massive football program and then some club sports across the board the rest of the way?
And again, we've made this comment before in talking about it, but the out is when you have a bad year. It's like I've read this related to South Carolina men's basketball, and even the AD has said this as well. We'll give them whatever they need, which is code, of course, for the money. We'll give them whatever they need to fix it, which means being able to spend more money on players they identify as top talent. And if they can lure them to South Carolina, if they can lure an NBA-type prospect to come in and you pay them, gobs of money to get him, well, that's the investment. But you got to do that year after year because you're constantly turning over your roster now with the way things are working. Let's go quickly to Bruce in Missouri, and then we're going to hear from Lamont Paris. Bruce, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, Phil. Thanks for taking my call, and this call's in honor of Gamecock Larry. This whole mess is going on with payment and all this stuff. I remember Carolina had a problem with some of the guys cleaning up the booths and stuff, and they were taking away the computer stuff, and they were going to getting money for what they took out of the offices up there, and they got disbarred from being on the team. But and that's how desperate they were at that point in time. I advocated that they get paid because the coach is getting paid so many millions of dollars. They should get a little bit of money there to participate and bring the multitudes in the stadium. I mean, the stadium is paying a godly amount of money, and they should get a portion of the stadium that they bring into. Not this crazy crap they're doing right now, getting people come in and doing their little deal with card deals.
So you're saying they should be getting a cut? They should be getting a cut of the ticket sales
of the house.
Yeah,
right, of the house.
Yeah. Well, and thanks for your phone call. That's an operational line item for the budget. They count on that to help fund the entire athletic department. So, again, in my way of thinking, the way it should be done is, I've already explained it, no need to go over it again. I think it should be up to each of the players to go get their NIL money, and if they want to have an agent represent them, to go get it. But it's got to be something, they've got to eliminate the recruiting part of this thing. That is what's going to drive everything through the roof, and that was not the intent of the rulings of the court, to create a free-for-all in the open market of recruiting. And I guarantee you, not a single judge on the Supreme Court has probably ever read my recruiting report. So probably doesn't even have a good idea about what we're talking about when it comes to recruiting. So they don't have a clue about what that creates. So does it? I mean, can we? I would think that the schools would like to do that. I would think that the schools would like to say, yeah, well, give me your scholarships and everything else, and it's up to you once you're here to go get your NIL money and get your advertising or do your social media, whatever it is that you can to create your income that way. Don't you think the schools would love to go with that?
Yeah, I would imagine they would. And I'm disappointed. I always thought that Clarence Thomas was a big fan of the Sports Talk Recruiting Report.
Well,
thought he ate at Seawells often when he's in South Carolina.
Well,
is that not the case?
Never gotten a text message from him about that, so I'm presuming that he does not, has never taken a look at it or heard it. We're going to run to the break. When we come back, we got to get to Lamont Paris, USC basketball coach. We had a chance to talk with him, along with a couple of other reporters from South Carolina here to cover the Gamecocks, so we'll bring that to you. And you'll find this kind of interesting. Talk a little bit about play in Arkansas, but then we got into how do you feel about this season, the way it's turned out compared to what you did last year, kind of how you're going to fix it. And we talked a little recruiting philosophy as well. That's coming up after the break.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
Relax. Start your journey with a new auto loan. Get ready for a season of adventure. Escape the ordinary and get on the road with an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union. From city streets to off-road trails, your journey begins here. Our low fixed rates can get you on the road in a ride that fits your lifestyle and your budget. Featuring no payments for up to 90 days. Simply apply early for a pre-approved spending limit before you even start shopping. Let a Founders representative be your trusted trusted advisor to make sure your purchase makes sense for you and your finances. Ask for a free auto insurance quote for a personalized plan to protect your purchase. Founders also offers mechanical breakdown protection that is competitive with most warranty plans available at dealerships. Visit one of our many convenient office locations or go to foundersfcu.com/auto to apply for an auto loan today or to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Okay, let's hear from USC basketball coach Lamont Paris, who got with me and two other reporters after the Gamecocks had their practice at the Bridgestone Arena. Of course, they're getting ready to play Arkansas, a team they just beat back in Columbia and beat soundly 72-53. Question is, how will they play them? How will Arkansas play them this time around? Here is Lamont Paris.
We'll go into the game just because we played well and defended them well, especially on that side of the ball with a similar game plan. Certainly they will make some adjustments. They may anyway, I don't know. I can only coach one team. But also offensively, I think we exposed a couple of things just in terms of how Colin was able to attack Big Z. So we won't change anything specifically going into the game, but we also went over some other things in anticipation of, more post doubles. They didn't double the post a whole lot in that game. They did some, but not a ton. So we've worked on some stuff like that. If they're completely committed to making sure Colin doesn't get as many opportunities, probably similar to what Tennessee did that way. If they play a little more zone, they played a little zone in that game. So we went over some zone just in case they play more zone. Press, they pressed a little bit, not much in that game, but we've gone over some of that stuff in case they decide. So it's just really more about trying to be prepared for something else that they could change, but at the same time, we played well. They did not play well. That's why we were up 35. We're not 35 points better than they are, right? We did play well. I thought we had a good strategy. I thought we employed that strategy extremely effectively. And then you combine that with the fact that even when they did get some shots, they also did not make those. So that's why it ended up what it was. But we'll do some of the similar things, and hopefully, we can get some version of a similar result.
When you think about where you were this time last year, and now you see where you are now at this particular point, what are your emotions like? What are your feelings like about the way this season has gone, considering the high mark that you made last year and made the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, we're particularly now, and as we move forward, every team has its own different life, and that one came together in all the right ways, and so we were able to really get some things done. Part of it, you look at all the close games that we had last year that we won. You look at all the close games that we've had this year, and the only one we won really was Clemson. And so we could be standing here saying a lot of different things if we had a similar record or similar percentage in those close games, because we've had almost as many close games this year as we did last year, down to 4 or 5 points, almost as many. But we just haven't won those. So really, I just stay focused on the team. And how to help them perform better and pushing the buttons that get them to continue to be aggressive, which we have, continue to play hard, which we have, and then hopefully play better. And so we got a great opportunity here, and we must play well. At the end of the day, you just must play well. You can do all the things that you want, follow all the rules that you're supposed to, and if you don't play well at this time of year, you're probably going home. So it's just keeping the guys relaxed, confident, and excited about the opportunity that lies in front of them.
How quickly, after the season ends, whether it's tomorrow or later on, how quickly do you need to know from your guys who's coming back, who's leaving, so you can get to work on constructing your next roster?
Probably pretty quickly relative to years in the past. I think this also, there aren't any secrets, whereas 10 years ago, maybe somebody was a little upset with their role or their position or how they were coached, or they're too far away from home, or they missed their girlfriend, or whatever it was, and you didn't know until it was too late, right? Now I just think there are going to be people that leave schools that they were the leading scorer and they still left, or they were the leading minutes, or they were whatever it was. So we'll just, I think you need to get to those pretty quickly, and just have a lot of honesty in those meetings, and because it helps you figure from a position standpoint, or even just scholarship numbers, how many scholarships you're going to be dealing with. Never before in the history of college basketball has there been so much uncertainty going into a recruiting period, like right before the recruiting period, how many scholarships you have. It's never happened before, and so that's where we are.
Yeah, it's an interesting time for college basketball coaches, no Chris, dealing with the numbers, and, do you recruit high school guys? Do you focus on the transfer portal? Do you want to develop talent and bring it up, or do you want to, go after the aged players and bring them in and see if they can turn you around in a hurry?
You brought up a really interesting point. I think that's what you were hitting on in the tease about the close games this year versus last year. I did a quick glance of games decided by 5 points or less. They're 1-7 this year. They were 8-3 last year in those games.
Well, they picked a bad time to be in the SEC and not be good, because the league moved up and they did not move up with it, at least not this year. Back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening, the low temp dipping down to 44. Tomorrow, every bit as gorgeous as today. We'll have plentiful sunshine to go with a high temperature, topping out at 80. We'll stay mild Thursday and Friday. More clouds than sunshine. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Want to hear my success story? I'm Fran Halloran, the money coach. I'm celebrating a decade of partnering with The Point. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. I've used The Point to significantly grow my small business. It started with a meeting with Kevin Cohen. Do you own a small business? Are you on a limited budget? No problem. Reach out to Kev at 563-8558. Get a customized plan and start your journey to business growth with The Point today. Success is one call away. Take the leap.
The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the House passed legislation Tuesday to avert a partial government shutdown and fund federal agencies through September, providing critical momentum as the measure now moves to the Senate, where bipartisan support will be needed to get it over the finish line. Republicans needed overwhelming support from their members to pass the funding measure, and they got it in the 217 to 213 House vote. Just one Republican, Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky, voted against the measure, and just one Democratic lawmaker, Representative Jared Golden of Maine, voted for it. The Trump administration will immediately lift its suspension of military aid to Ukraine and intelligence sharing with Kyiv. The announcement came Tuesday. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 478 points. More details at srnnews.com.
So who needs broker solar? Well, it's the homeowner or the business owner that wants to take some control of their own power bills. It's the family that decides clean solar is the path for them. Or maybe it's the church or nonprofit that wants to save some big dollars for their cause. Is it you? Maybe it's time you wake up to all broker solar can do for you. You have to let Ken and his team be your ultimate guide in what is pretty complex, this solar world. Make no mistake, solar energy is not for everyone. Despite what the scammers and door-knocking liars tell you, it is not free. It's a significant investment, but it has significant returns. From home installations to solar farms, Broker Solar can personalize your solar solution by meeting your needs and your budget. Their menu includes everything from full-scale solar on your roof or land and even battery backups for those pesky power outages that we've all endured. Visit brokersolar.com, stick it to the utility companies while also bathing in the sunny side of savings. Brokersolar.com, giving you the power instead of leaving you feeling powerless.
If you step onto H&J Cattle's farm, you'll find third-generation farmers upholding the legacy. They embrace sustainability and take immense pride in their craft, raising cattle purely on nature's offerings, without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. The result? Unmatched quality beef that's not just good, it's the best in South Carolina. Experience the distinct flavor of our finest registered Hereford and Wagyu beef. Visit us online at hdjcattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
When your pipes panic, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning steps right in, fast and friendly. Josh and his team aren't just fixing leaks, they're restoring your peace of mind. This is when you're at your most vulnerable. You got a problem, you need a solution. They're not coming out to upsell you or talk you into something new, this or new that. You'll appreciate their process. They'll tell you what needs to get done and what it'll cost before they ever even bring in their tools to start the work. They're locally owned, which unfortunately is no longer the norm in the Midlands. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning will treat every home like their own. They've done work for me, for my brother, countless numbers of Point listeners. Dial 799-2222 or visit franklinplumbing.sc.com and you tell them Kev from The Point sent you. You will experience plumbing that's more than just a fix. It's a solution from people who care about their work and stand by it. When you need them, please don't panic. Just call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, 799-2222.
All right, another excellent race. I think we're 4 for 4 on great finishes, and that's great for NASCAR so far. Another terrific finish, down to the wire, could have gone any direction there at Phoenix as we welcome in the president of Darlington Raceway, where they know a thing or two about close finishes, Josh Harris, joining us. Well, what'd you think of the soft tire, the option tire, the way this one played out, the very tight finish? I think it was an excellent show at Phoenix on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was one of the best races we've had at Phoenix in a number of years. Certainly, I think in the next gen era. So kudos to Goodyear, NASCAR working together on those option tires, which I would expect, looking forward, maybe that's the primary tire when we come back for the championship. So it was really cool to see early in the race when a couple of those guys, whether it was Logano or Preece, put on those tires and everybody else was on their regular tires, and they just drove up through the field. So created some compelling racing throughout the day, different strategy, and then a great finish at the end with Christopher Bell holding on for his third consecutive win.
The drivers, listen to them after the race. They love that tire. So I don't understand if that's such a great tire And the drivers love the tire. Why isn't that the tire that's predominant in a race?
So I think what they've determined is even when they've tried to test a softer tire, I would say it was probably around this time last year where between the teams and NASCAR and Goodyear, they all got together and said, okay, we've tried to make various changes to the car itself. Let's try to change and work on the tire. So that's what they've gone to work on. And what they're able to do by doing it this way is introduce a new softer tire and get good data on it in race trim versus just going and doing a tire test. And I think Goodyear has said, and the teams have said, tests are good, but the best data they can get is from the race. So this gives them an opportunity, get that data. And like I said, I fully expect now that tire performed well, that softer option tire will be the primary tire when we come back to Phoenix for the championship in November.
Interesting. Josh Harris, president of Darlington, with us. Christopher Bell, 3 in a row. I got no problem with that. I love to see winning streaks. I think if you have a driver take off and throw a bunch of wins together, that gets people talking and gets you more attention. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's certainly good for Christopher Bell. In this next-gen car era, what we've really seen is a lot of parity, a lot of winners. The setting the, record for the most number of winners in a season at the Cup level and coming pretty close to it the last couple of years. So it's nice, in my opinion, to have a driver that's kind of elevated his game and winning 3 out of the first 4, 3 in a row. Kind of reminds you of some of the older days when we had some of those dominant drivers. It wasn't too long ago. Kyle Larson won 10 races in a season on his way to a championship. So Christopher Bell is certainly putting himself into prime position here at the beginning of the year.
Josh, back to Phil's question regarding the softer tire and the option that the drivers had this week. To me, is it too cost prohibitive for them to be able to do that at every race? Because I think that would put a lot more into the hands of the crew chiefs and the teams, along with the drivers, if they had options every week. Or is it just a situation where Goodyear cannot afford to put 2 separate tires and take them to every single racetrack?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily cost prohibitive. I know that they would need, some lead time to develop that because the tire compounds are so different from track to track. So, we tried this for the first time last year at Richmond, and it's really been something that they've done to try to address the racing on the short tracks and take some of the aero out of the equation by softening the tire. To be honest, in my opinion, our racing on the 1.5 miles, like we'll see this week at Las Vegas, the following week at Homestead, and then certainly at Darlington, while the additional strategy I think would be compelling, I don't know that it's needed. And certainly you've got series out there like F1 that every week they have these different option tires. I think it's one of those debates that there's definitely pros and cons on, and we may see that get sprinkled into the schedule, but I don't know that it will ever become something where it's an every week thing.
Mm-hmm. Josh Harris, president of Darlington Raceway, with us here on Sports Talk, and they've got a busy week starting tomorrow. Josh, you're going to have Ross Chastain over at the track to do a little media availability. He's also doing some public service announcements for the upcoming Throwback Weekend. But I wanted to steal the fun question away from Phil before he asks you for it. How long have you been training to get ready to work out with the troops at Fort Jackson on Thursday?
Well, I hope they don't put me through the ringer too much. That's one of those. We went and met with the base commander and the deputy commander back after the first of the year, and NASCAR in general, and certainly us at the track. We're big supporters of our military and showing support for them. So we had a great meeting, and one of the takeaways was we wanted to come back. They do graduation ceremonies there just about every week from those troops going through basic training. We wanted to be there, show up for that, but then they're like, hey, if you want to put us through a couple of these training things that they go through, we can do that. So I've been stretching out the muscles a little bit, getting ready. We'll hopefully they don't put me in through the ringer too much. We got a race to run in a couple of weeks.
You have some ointment ready and don't get lost in the woods. You could get lost back there where they go training in Fort Jackson. I live close enough to the fort that I hear the big guns fire off from time to time, so they might have you out there, lining up one of those big guns and pulling the trigger. Boom.
Yeah, maybe they'll see how good my aim is. We'll see, if I've still got any of those skills. I used to go, hunting with my dad when I was growing up, and it's been a while. Maybe I still got a decent aim.
And you've got an event tomorrow. Bergie will be there because I'm in Nashville, but you're having a driver over at the track tomorrow.
Yeah, so Ross Chastain will be out at the track. He'll be doing a lot of stuff with the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. I think, if you follow Ross on social media, just about every race market we go to, he's out promoting highway safety, safe driving, protecting your melon. So I think this is just an extension of that. He'll be out doing some filming for some commercials they'll be putting out later in the year. But also, while he's there at the track, we'll have some of our media friends out to talk to him to promote the race, and I think we'll probably do some fun things with him that you may see on our social media channels as we get to the race as well.
Absolutely. Look forward to that. And tell folks again about getting those tickets because race time you're about a month away, so you better grab those tickets if you want to get the good ones.
Yeah, 25 days and about 20 hours or so and counting to the Goodyear 400, which, we got a little countdown in our office, and we added to it today. We opened campgrounds about 6 days before the Cup race. So campgrounds are going to be open in less than 3 weeks, and the race is going to be here before we know it. So tickets are available at darlingtonraceway.com, or you can call us at 866-459-RACE.
Fantastic. Well, Bergie will be there tomorrow to see what's going on and to talk to Chastain. Maybe he'll pick up a watermelon and slice it up and share it with us. And we will talk to you next week, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you guys next week. Chris, see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President of Darlington Raceway, Josh Harris with us here on Sports Talk. Okay, after the break, we'll come back with the recruiting report tonight, and we'll sneak in a little bit of that Dabo Sweeney from Friday. As Chris said, we need to get it on tonight before he talks again, which I think might be, I could bring up the schedule, I think it might be tomorrow after practice he speaks, or maybe it's Friday.
They've got a scrimmage, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday, so he may speak after that.
I would think he would. Okay, we'll be back with all that in just a moment.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool, your drive-through coffee will be hot, and the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hi, Phil Kornblut here with our good friend George Bryan III. Heard every Friday night on Birdies, Bogeys, and Biceps right here on Sports Talk. George, the Tsunami Bar, a very valuable tool for golfers. Why is that?
Well, the first thing that I say is the tempo. It's the only tool out there that allows the study of tension right from the first grab to be expressed, and rhythm and tempo is what makes the bar work, and it gives you something awfully special to keep those hands soft and get that rhythm going.
Learn more about Tsunami Bar technology by clicking on the digital ad on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and save 5% by purchasing online using the promo code BBB5.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Okay, let's get you to the recruiting report brought to you by Seawells. Let's take a look at what's on tap tomorrow for the daily luncheon buffet.
As always, Southern fried chicken. We got meatloaf. And
Meatloaf.
We got, smoked sausages with peppers and onions. And you have carved turkey with cornbread dressing.
Awesome. It's only $14, $14.50 if you pay with a card. And they operate from 11 till 2. And you got something coming up requiring the best in the catering business. You just give Seawells a phone call, and that number is 803-771-7385, and online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Let them handle your special event, like a wedding reception, a birthday party, a corporate outing, an awards banquet, a business luncheon. You just want to call the catering experts at Seawells, 803-771-7385. Another commitment for Clemson today. Safety Caden Gebhardt, 6'2", 195, Lewis Center, Ohio. He announced his commitment, becoming the 7th pledge to come from the weekend of visits, the second from Ohio. Tom Allen, the new Clemson DC, recruited him when he was at Penn State, so they already had a relationship. Looked like Penn State was the strong one on him early. He made a lot of visits to Penn State. Of course, Ohio State was in there and Wisconsin, but he goes to Clemson for the first time. And I take that back. He was at a junior day at Clemson in January, and that set the stage for a return trip this past weekend and ultimately the commitment. He has an official visit set with Clemson for May 30th. Last season, 94 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. As a sophomore, 129 tackles. With 3 interceptions, Clemson now with a dozen commitments for the class. Checked in on Carson Baker, 6'2", 190 running back, Fairburn, Georgia. Clemson and South Carolina going hard after him. Clemson's made a strong move after getting in on him late. He went in for a visit last week, was offered by the Tigers. Was going to go in this past Saturday, but had a track meet, so he couldn't get in. He does have an official scheduled with the Tigers for the first week in June. So Clemson is very much a factor, and C.J. Spiller has told him how he would fit in with their offense and how they would use him, and he has liked what he's heard from Clemson. He rushed for 1,282 yards and 15 touchdowns last season. He believes Clemson needs a home run hitter like him in their offense, something he doesn't believe they really had last year. He made 4 visits to South Carolina last year and was back for a junior day in January, so the Gamecocks are very much in the hunt as well. He talked to Marquell Blackwell earlier this week, and with the Gamecocks losing Rocket Sanders, and again, he believes not having the home run hitter like him, there's a spot for him and a chance for him to go in and play right away at South Carolina. He does plan a return trip to Clemson this spring, as well as other visits to USC, Georgia, Florida State, and Ohio State. He's got that official with Clemson. 1 to Florida State June 6th, 1 to Ohio State June 13th, and 1 to Texas A&M June 20th. and he'll set one with South Carolina. Clemson did miss out on a top target last night when offensive tackle Maxwell Riley of Avon Lake, Ohio, committed to Ohio State. Cornerback Danny Odom, 6'2", 183 of Orlando, was offered by Clemson last week when he was in for a visit. He's got a lot of big-time offers, including North Carolina, Ole Miss, Miami, NC State, Louisville, Michigan State, Baylor, Vanderbilt, Syracuse. He has officials with Miami June 6th and Vanderbilt June 13th. He was at Miami as well on March 3rd. 27 safety Kennedy Green, 6'2", 195, Douglasville, Georgia, plans to visit USC March 27th. Clemson target linebacker Tyler Atkinson was to visit Georgia today, as was Clemson and USC receiver target Ryan Mosley of Carrollton, Georgia. Basketball, 6'4", Joshua Mio of Coastal Carolina, say that right? Is transferring.
Unfortunately, he's transferring. That's the unfortunate part.
Junior from Orlando averaged about 9 points a game last year. And that is recruiting tonight here on Sports Talk. Okay. Dabo Swinney met with the media Friday night. We only got on the air a smidgen of that, so I thought let's put together a little piece where he's talking X's and O's and get a little more feel from him about spring practice to this point. We'll hear more from him after their scrimmage tomorrow night. But here is some Dabo Swinney from the other night after the Clemson practice.
Gideon Davidson, what are your initial impressions?
I mean, as advertised, he's physically, impressive. I mean, just further along than I thought he would be coming in. I mean, he doesn't look like a high school kid. I mean, he looks like a kid that's been in college about 3 years. He's really thick, strong, explosive. He's north of 200. I mean, he just looks great physically, and just what you thought he'd be. Really smooth athlete and a lot of confidence, fast. So he's done a nice job picking things up well. Proud of him.
I think this time around last year, Cade Klubnik's play was kind of a big question. Entering spring practice, I guess, going into his senior season, how you kind of see him kind of improve from last spring practices to this year?
Yeah, he wasn't a big question to me. He was just a guy in progress, just a guy in process of becoming a great player. Wasn't a big question. He just first-year starter that, like a lot of guys, did a lot of good stuff and some stuff he needed to improve on. But, I mean, he's just picking up where he left off. Very confident. The game has really slowed down for him. You saw that last year, and but that's what we forget. I mean, we're so quick to just condemn a young player that doesn't play like the senior version of himself, and it's just kind of comes with it, unfortunately. But I don't care how talented you are, there's a process that you have to go through to really develop in this game. And so he's just made the right stuff and picked up where he left off. He's an unbelievable leader. Again, he's made a lot of great plays all throughout camp. A lot of good chemistry with the receivers. This time last year we had some new people that were, we had some guys not out there in the spring, and then we had some guys that like TJ that wasn't going to get here till the summer. Some guys that weren't out in the spring from injury standpoint. And then you had some new people showing up that were trying to kind of get on the same page. And, they're just a lot further along from a chemistry standpoint. But Cade he's just a veteran guy, veteran leader, very confident. And, that can only come from being battle tested and having the type of experience that he's got from really good success, but also some failure as well.
That said, what's your expectation for Brazina in the spring?
Take another step. We thought he did that last year. We needed to see really a lot of improvement from him. Again, he was a kid that really bought into what we were asking him to do. He was only 17 coming in here, and we told him we weren't going to sign a quarterback in 24. He was going to be the 23-24 guy. We told him we wasn't going to get any reps in 23. We were going to redshirt him, because we kind of had our guys here. He didn't get many reps. But last year he got all the 2 reps. And really by the end of the year, especially the second half, when I started giving him all of our, kind of into practice competitive work. I just really saw a jump in him. And, so we just got to continue to see that from him. And he's just a committed kid. He's really talented. We were really fortunate to get him. Highly recruited guy, and just bought into our plan. And so I'm just proud of him. I mean, he's done a nice job. He's in a much better spot than he was this time last year going into his really getting first reps. Now he's gotten 2 reps all year, and in this spring we're giving him a lot of 1 reps. I think that's the next step for him. And so we getting Cade the work he needs, but really force feeding, CV. And so far, so good.
About Chris Stinson, just the first spring practice for a true freshman.
Yeah, he's just raw. I mean, just a good athlete, really smart, really the game, I think kind of comes easy to him. He understands the game. Great athlete, just like we thought. I mean, he's just a natural. I mean, the guy can motor, but just game's fast, and he's got just a raw quarterback. Got a lot of work to do to really get where we need to be. But you start somewhere. He's a high school kid rolling in here, and doing a good job of learning.
Okay, some comments from Dabo Sweeney. I'm sure we'll have more for you tomorrow after the Tigers have their scrimmage, and we'll bring that to you. Carlos Powell is out as the basketball coach at Gray Collegiate after 1 season, the former USC basketball star. So interesting turn of events there. One thing I didn't mention in recruiting, certainly looks like Dorman safety Kentavian Anderson now appears to be a very strong Clemson lean. He tweeted out today a comment that talking about a couple of guys who'd committed to Clemson. That's my future duo. So if you want to read between the tea leaves there, or read between the lines of a post on X, indication there. And I think others are kind of predicting him heading to Clemson. So we'll see what happens there down the road. But something could be happening there pretty soon with him. Very, very terrible news today about Tiger Woods. Achilles tendon tear, had surgery, done for this year. No Masters, no nothing. So very disappointed to hear that news.
Yeah, his body just is not cooperating anymore with him. He's just had so many injuries. It's sad to see his career coming to an end like this.
I agree. We'll see you tomorrow night after the USC and Arkansas game. Talk to you then.
WQXL